This is Michael Jason Francis, and he's a recovering collector. He's spent all his life buying everything he thought he needed, everything he thought he had to have. And you know what? It's all just collecting dust in boxes for no one to see. Until now. This is the Recovering Collector.
Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Recovering Collector here on New Toy Robot. I am Michael Jason Francis, and today we are going to talk about Daredevil. Now, before Ben Affleck got into those little tights, I wouldn't even say tights, gosh, it was like a whole leather crazy biker outfit. Daredevil was just a comic book. Today I'm gonna bring out my collection of Daredevil comics. Now, by collection of Daredevil comics, I mean I have a lot of Daredevil comics. It was like an insane obsession where, okay, most people believe that Frank Miller's run on Daredevil was the best storyline throughout Daredevil's history. And I agree. Frank Miller's writing, like with Batman or anything else he's done, is just incredible. It brings such life and emotion to the character. They make him seem more realistic. So what I did was, instead of just trying to get like all the Daredevil comics I needed, I started from the issue right before Frank Miller started writing it to about the end of the original Daredevil series. Back before Daredevil ended around issue 327 or something like that, when the character, when they changed his costume. They ran out of ideas on what to do with the character. They basically just destroyed what was left of Daredevil. So I think it was like around issue 327. So I collected from around Frank Miller's first issue to the end of that. And then afterwards I got the Kevin Smith stuff. Kevin Smith came back and saved the Daredevil character. He did it with Green Arrow, and he did it with Daredevil. A great storyline. If you haven't read it, look it up. So that was a lot of information. Anyway, I got the first two issues up with Bullseye. And if you don't know who Bullseye is, I don't know why you're watching this episode of The Recovering Collector, because this is about Daredevil.
Bullseye made his debut in Daredevil issue number 131. He's your basic badass assassin who just can't miss. And he's got a huge grudge against Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil. Now, Frank Miller made his start on Daredevil with issue number 158. It was the second part of a two-part storyline that pretty much didn't have much going on with it. It was your basic run-of-the-mill filler kind of story, but it introduced Frank Miller to the Daredevil universe, even calling him lanky. Now, as far as female assassins go, Elektra is one of the coolest in the Marvel universe. When she showed up on the scene, Matt Murdock's life was turned upside down. Not only because she's an assassin, but she's also his ex-girlfriend. Their rekindled love could only last so long, because of course Bullseye showed up and, doing his normal Bullseye thing, came in, fought Elektra and killed her in a brutal fight. One that wasn't really seen during that time in the Marvel Universe. To make this scene even worse, Elektra crawls to Matt's apartment and dies in his arms. After Elektra's death, we were left with about a handful of issues before Frank Miller would take his leave from the Daredevil series. But before he would leave, he would bring back his beloved Elektra using a supernatural group of ninjas called the Hand. The Hand brought Elektra back to be their leader, thus bringing Elektra back to life and back to the Marvel Universe. Frank Miller's run ended on issue number 191. His storylines, his emotional depth that he brought to his characters can only be considered of a time of noir for the Marvel Universe. Afterwards, Denny O'Neil would take over for the writing, and by issue 200, Daredevil would get his sweet revenge by crippling the vicious assassin known as Bullseye, thus bringing a close to the end of the Elektra Daredevil storyline.
Now, issues after this kind of were crazy, and Matt went through a couple more costume changes, and Frank Miller did show up a couple times to write a couple other stories. But the series eventually came to a close with issue number 380. That is until Kevin Smith came and brought Daredevil back to his awesome glory, bringing a new era and new fans into the Daredevil universe. So there you go. I hope that was enough Daredevil for you to take. I love these issues. It's so great to have them out. I pulled out like 20 of them that I'm just going to start reading again because they were just incredible stories. Season 2 of Daredevil, the TV show, is on Netflix right now. And it's got Frank Castle and the Punisher and Elektra, and it's definitely worth a watch. Strays a little bit from the comic, but it's definitely worth a watch. Like always, if you want to show something from your collection on this show, on The Recovering Collector, email me at newtoyrobot@gmail.com or leave comments down below. Always click like and subscribe. And until next week, this is Michael Jason Francis, and this has been The Recovering Collector. See you later.